Yes, good morning and welcome back to the Football Tribe YouTube channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. It's good to be back this beautiful Thursday morning on your favorite football updates channel. That's at Football Tribe UG. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back from last night's action. It ended in tears for Manchester United, so we're going to be discussing that and perhaps more because AC Milan are in pursuit of Christopher Nkunku from Chelsea. So we will be discussing that and perhaps a little things more. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So we'll talk a bit of transfers among other things, and yeah, but predominantly our conversation is going to revolve around Manchester United because they are making all the headlines for the right, for the wrong reasons, one would argue, and yeah, it doesn't look pretty, but it is what it is. It is factual that they did lose. Yes, they mounted a comeback from 2 goals down to level each 2-2. But I mean, we shouldn't be talking about Man United having to mount a comeback against a team like Grimsby Town. So in the first place, that was not an expectation of mine, you know. So, but yeah, good. Sorry, was testing our audience here to make sure everything is checked out. If you're Manchester United fan, I'll be really looking forward to hearing from you this beautiful morning. Let's engage. Let's know why it did happen the way it happened. Who is to blame? Who is to blame for Manchester United's? Who is to blame for Manchester United's loss? Is it the manager or is it the players? Is it the manager or the players? For me, I mean, it's really a hard one to slice. It's really a hard one to slice. And the reason as why it is hard is because the kind of team that the manager fielded is because it's not like it could not win. It could, but I thought they were so complacent on the day. That's just what it was. That's just so complacent. They ought to have done better on the day. They ought to have done better on the day, but they did themselves no favors. I mean, I've been looking at those scores that they conceded, especially the second goal, and every single one of them, every single Manchester United fan is for some reason and somehow focused on blaming Andre Onana. Yes, he should have done better. Yes, he should have done better. Perhaps he should have had better judgment for the flight of that ball. But no single Man United player tries to compete for that ball. No defender makes a jump. Harry Maguire is right in the mix of that. No player tries to attempt, going for that ball. And then somehow, because it ends, because the back end with Andre Onana, he's going to get all the stick. He's going to get all the stick. And I'm not saying he shouldn't. But I'm saying it's a team of 11 players. It's a team of 11 players, you know. So we're talking about players that did not compete in either half, by the way. Yes, in the second half, you could argue Man United looked better. Looking better against who? Against Grimsby Town. They should have looked better from the onset. They are better. Everybody expects them to be better, but they weren't that. And that's perhaps one of the surprising, if not the annoying part of this. So, Man United, I mean, they've been knocked out of the at the second round of the EFL Cup. Now, when the season starts, especially for new managers, all teams, now all the big teams dream of winning a piece of silverware. And the Carabao Cup, as small as you may deem it to be, it's one of those accolades that you could look to pick up on. Even Eric Ten Hag wasn't that poor. I mean, in his debut campaign, he won this competition. He won the Carabao Cup, and the subsequent season, he did reach 2 semi-finals: the FA Cup and sorry, he did reach the FA Cup final, and he won that one in his second season. But in his debut campaign, they reached two finals: the FA Cup final and the Carabao Cup final. They managed to win the Carabao Cup final and lost the FA Cup final. So in terms of Manchester United recovering from how bad they were last season, this is one of the competitions that you would think is a stepping stone to that. This is the kind of competition that, not that they would catch themselves upon, but the kind of competition that you go ahead and win and sort of try to buy back, sort of fan spirit, to buy back the fans to say, look here, it wasn't all rosy last season, but we are on the right trajectory. We're talking about a Manchester United team that is not in Europe. So basically, they have the Premier League to compete on or to concentrate on. And when the Carabao Cup competition comes along, you expect that all these players that may have not been getting a lot of game time in the Premier League are going to be given a chance. Now, it's not to say that you flip the entire team, maybe depending on opponent, because you line up your team based on who the opponent is. And in this particular case, it was Grimsby Town, a League Two side. You have to skip the championship, you skip the League One side, the championship, and go to League Two. And they are fourth on that league low. Now, Manchester United are 16th on the Premier League table. Now, that by its own nature is a reflection of their own performances or their own results in the opening two games of the season. But that's nothing to worry about. In any case, when you go back to that 2021 and 2022 Premier League season, after the three opening fixtures of the season, Arsenal were at bottom of the league. No goals scored, about 9 goals conceded, because they had lost to Brentford, they lost to Chelsea, and I think to Manchester City. They lost to Brentford by 2-0. They lost to Chelsea by 2-0, and Manchester City hammered them, I think, by 5-0. So it was that horrible. It was that horrible. And then Arsenal bounced back. Eventually, they finished 5th on the Premier League log at the end of that campaign. Of course, missing out on the UEFA Champions League. But the point is that I'm trying to drive at is that you can lose your first 3-4 games and still bounce back and do well in the league. And I'm not saying Manchester United should be losing their games, but I'm saying the league table at the moment we shouldn't be reading too much into that. But if we are judging them based on what they performed at last season, then not last season, based on how they performed in that game against Grimsby Town, then the game against then the results or the way the league table looks like is a justification, can be justified if we are using that kind of performance. Now, again, we have to look at what the kinds of players that were involved. I mean, this is the game I was watching along while trying to follow as much as I could for that game between Benfica and Fenerbahce, as Benfica beat up against Fenerbahce by 0-0 in the UEFA Champions League qualifiers, bearing in mind that the draws are set for today. For the UEFA Champions League, they are set for today. But I looked at Manchester United. They started with a very strong team, by the way, because for a team that is starting against Grimsby Town, when you start with when you have Andre Onana in goal, when you have Harry Maguire, Aiden Heaven, Fredrickson, when you have Manuel Ugarte and Kobe Mainu, you have Patrick Dogu and Diego Dalot, you have Amadou Diallo, Matas Cunha and Benjamin Sesko. I mean, that's a team good enough. But then the question is, why are you having 5 defenders on the pitch against Grimsby Town? Yes, I understand the game is away from home, but you can be a little more programmatic, And this has been my argument all along, that it is okay to set up with one of the attacking midfielders as a wing back, and because they played predominantly offensively, and then once you're in the offense, while they help with defending, it's the other the other wing back that reverts to help the back 3 defenders to form a belt of 4 players, and then this attacking, winger or wing back, who is naturally a winger or a forward player, joins the midfield to form a belt of 3 players and becomes sort of a 4-3-3 kind of system. in the defensive, because then your striker joins the two number 10s to form another belt of three players. That's how they should be playing, but that's not how they're playing. It's just, again, you look at this Manchester United side and feel and think to yourself, what are they not doing right? You know, they're not doing anything right. They're doing everything wrong. You know, yes, they had as many deflected shots or blocked shots as you could have. The goalkeeper rising to the occasion. You know, he had that moment where you had that moment in the second half where Bruno Fernandes, yes, it was Bruno Fernandes. As apologies for as trying to scrap my memory to find the actual player. It was Bruno Fernandes that attempted from distance, and the goalkeeper saved. But again, you do not remember the Grimsby goalkeeper, who is called Christy Pine. Christy Pine, having so many serves in that game. It's not like the Grimsby goalkeeper, by all accounts and measures, was my man of the match. Maybe because he took the final penalty before Brani Bomo missed his own. I mean, the penalties seem to go on forever because eventually they were 12-11 in favor of Grimsby Town. But okay, because penalties are 50-50s and it's a game of chances, one would think that Grimsby Town were lucky. They shouldn't be getting to this lucky point if you want to think that they were lucky. Man United should be killing this game right away in no more time. This is the kind of opponent that you should be beating up against 3-0, 4-0, 5-1, 5-0, Now, it reminded me of that game also a couple of seasons back. Not just a couple, by the way. I think you have to go back to, was it 2016 or thereabout, a game in the Carabao Cup when Manchester United lost to MK Dons. I need to find that result. MK Dons, Milton Keynes Dons. They beat up against Man United in the EFL Cup. You have to look for that result. It was around the 2016 season, 2014-2015 season. That was, I think, Eric Ten Hag in charge. MK Dons beat up against Manchester United by 4 goals to nil. By 4 goals to nil. Big squad, a double. Benik Afobe scored a brace. And when, I mean, it was that bad. So for me, that game, by some way, was a reminder of that. It was a reminder of that. The referee was Stuart Atwell. At the time, friend, Manchester United had a modest 52% possession. I mean, I was trying to look up and see if I can find the kind of starting level Manchester United had in that game. But for me, that 2-all draw against Grimsby Town was a reminder of that. It was a difficult reminder of that kind of game, to say that United are capable of these kinds of performances. Basically that is what it was. You have to go back to that season of 2014 and 2015 when they lost to Milton Keynes Dons or MK Dons in the EFL Cup. And now they are back losing to Grimsby. That was in August 2014. Louis van Gaal was the manager, and they would go on to have a horrible performance. Danny Welbeck was in that team, I'm trying to see if I can find the starting 11 that for Manchester United, but unfortunately I can't find it. Unfortunately, I can't find it. You know, I can't find it. But the Carabao Cup draws are equally out. So for the next round, that's the third round, and I want to find them for you. Carabao Cup draws. And I know Arsenal will be up against Portugal in the coming days. But I mean, what I I try to sit down, guys. The reason as why I keep speaking and stopping is because I'm really trying to process it. I'm trying to find a way how I can defend Manchester United. I'm trying to find a way where I can not fault them. I'm trying to find a way where I could excuse the manager, and there's no way. Because when he started with that team that I just read you, that had Matas Cunha, that had Manuel Ugarte, Kobe Maino, Diego Dalot, Amadou Diallo, Benjamin Sesko, he went in this at halftime and flipped it. Now, when I say flipped it, he made 3 straight changes at halftime. It's not to say that he changed his formation, because he withdrew Manuel Ugarte for Bruno Fernandes. He withdrew he withdrew Tyler Fredrickson for Matas David. So that meant he stayed with the back three. And then Brandon Boemo came on. I mean, he came on for Patrick Togu. And you thought that Man United were going to, dominate play, that it was going to be attack after attack, that they were going to force goals in there, and that they would win it 4-2. Yes, they tried to dominate play, but to what end? To what result? Because the equalizer did not come until the 75th minute. And I did say, for those, because we are doing a watch along, and I did say at the time that Man United, or Grimsby Town, needed to avoid conceding in the first 15-20 minutes of the second half, and they managed to do that. Now, in the 75th minute, they concede to a brilliant goal by Brandon Boemo. And from there on, I just couldn't help relieve the feeling that we're going to concede. And eventually they conceded in the 89th minute. Harry Maguire's header. They looked on edge. I knew they had to dig in. Because as good as they were on the day, Grimsby Town, it's also hard to defend against a Premier League team that is better than you in every form or shape or aspect of football, in terms of players, in terms of player quality and things like that. But all that was put to the side, and those Grimsby Town players, I mean, the fans, at the blow of the final whistle, they all swam into the stadium, and you cannot blame them. Whatever the rules say against that, you can't blame them. They were elated. You're talking about the kind of fans who support their local team, Grimsby Town, but you will find some that also pay allegiance to some of these Premier League teams. That maybe they support Man United, they support an Arsenal, they support Chelsea, because that's just the way it is. The goalkeeper, the Grimsby goalkeeper, he was there speaking and he was saying he's a Manchester United fan, a Christie. So Benjamin Sesko, horrendous performance. I mean, they were just poor. Man United were just poor. Not even second best in the day. I would put the referee second best on the day and put Man United third best on the day. And Grimsby Town were on top of everything. And that's not to say that the referee should have done better than he did in that game. But also, there's some bad calls. For example, that second goal by Grimsby Town, I don't think it should have stood if we had VAR. But we're talking about a Grimsby side that scored 2 goals that were ruled out. One was ruled out for what was feared to be offside, which I thought was a tight call, especially in the second half, which would have been the third goal. And then in the first half, the initial goal that would have been the second was a result of two handballs. So he didn't count. He didn't count. And I do understand that. And I do understand that, you know. I do understand that neatly and entirely. That's okay. That's okay, you know. But to sit and think that United would concede for a second, forget that the second had, you know, a handball in it, or what would have been the second goal initially, and the third, what would have been the third goal, you know, having an edgy offside. United, no, it's just disappointing. Ruben Amorim, he's been 7 months in the job, 7 solid months, and I mean that's minus 2 months of you know, of season of the summer. And if you are to ask me what has he changed inside that Manchester United dressing room, yesterday we did not see it. Yesterday we did not see it. We just did not see it. Yesterday we did not see it. Maybe we saw it against Arsenal at Old Trafford, but everything they did on that day, on the opening day of the season, wasn't there yesterday. It wasn't. And they ended up crashing out. I saw the manager speaking, Ruben Amorim, in the post-match interview, and he was lost for words. He was trying to conjure up what to say, and what could not come. Literally, he was forcing them. He was saying they need to change mindset. He said they couldn't change 22 players, and that's for a fact. But before you change the 22 players, you brought in 3 good players who all got to play. One got you a goal, which was a consolation at the time, but it's just not good enough. And 2 of those missed the penalties. Bani Mbomo missed his second penalty, Matthias Cunha missed his first. Anyways, that was the story of Man United. That was the story of Man United being knocked out of the EFL Cup. They knocked out, and there's no excuse. Will you watch the UEFA Champions League stage draw today? I'm hoping to do so. If I won't be on the move, I'm hoping to watch it. Good morning, Pedri. How are you? What happened to Manchester United? Did you catch the game? I know you caught the game because you chipped in late last night before you went to bed. What did you make of that team? What did you think of the results? What did you think of Man United's performance? I mean, at this stage, and I've said this before, that no matter how many managers Manchester United change, certain things are not changing. But Amorim's stubbornness to stick with a system that for now is not working. Because you see, the thing about football, and I understand managers having their principles and trying to stick to them, and all things like that. But I've always said this: give yourself room for flexibility to adapt to a certain game and get a result. Now, in yesterday's game, when he made those changes, first of all, my viewers, the draw is at 7 p.m. UG time. Okay. Usually those draws come a little earlier than that. Usually they are at around lunchtime. They change this time around. UEFA Champions League draws. Usually they come around 2:30 p.m. That's usually the expectation. I don't know. I'll need to confirm. I'll need to confirm on that one. Oh, it's 8:30 Central Eastern. Is that Central Eastern time? Whatever, CET, whatever that is. But when we say It was an awful game for Manchester United. I do not know how long we need to give Amorim as a draw. Okay, so I mean, Ruben Amorim has no excuses. Really, he has no excuses. Because for me, I thought after that horrible first half performance, what he was going to do, the first thing he was going to do, he was going to withdraw one defender, bring in Bruno Fernandes, and have a retreat to sort of a back four, which could have given them, I thought, more defensive solidity. Because, by the way, the amount of times Grimsby Town were getting behind that Manchester United defense was an awful lot. But still, he stuck with his, system of having. You had Matas Delit really try. He was always popping up in the 18 yards box, but it was all not paying off. It was all not paying off. At the end of the day, it just could not pay off. It just wasn't. And as frustrating as it was, it's a fact. But poor performance on the night. Poor performance. A lot of people, like I've said, are blaming Andre Onana. But like I said, although the goalkeeper should have done better, for me the question is, what was his defense doing before they even got to him? That first goal that they do concede, you had a collision between Amadou Diallo, I think, and Manuel Ugarte in midfield before losing possession. Two passes are played, one down actually, I think two. One down the right flank and then into the box. And the player controlling that ball in the box, who eventually scores, his name is Charles Vanman. Charles Vanman. He controls that ball with the first touch and he strikes it with the second, and it's into the back of the net. What was the defense doing? Look at the second goal that they concede. A cross is brought into the box, and zero Manchester United player is fighting for that ball. He is trying to compete for that ball. Now, Onana makes a misjudgment, trying to come for that ball to punch it, and he misses it, and he falls to the opponent, and he scores. Now, I understand that. But Harry Maguire was well within that position. He does not jump whatsoever to try and compete for that ball. Never mind that he was taller than anybody else that was in the mix for that ball. That was Taylor Warren, who scored the second goal. So it was just horrible. And now suddenly, everybody thinks Andre Onana is the daredevil in this particular case. And after the game, Patrick Dogu went to his X account and said, "This is not acceptable. Manchester United fans deserve better. We will look at ourselves and come back stronger." Unfortunately for them, they cannot come back stronger in the Carabao Cup because they are out. I'm trying to confirm whether it's his official account, because while it has a blue tick, it may not really communicate to say that it's the official account. But at least that's what it is saying for now, So anyways, Man United's problems, challenges can be spoken about almost all day, all time, all summer. But yeah, they're that poor. Their next engagement is going to be against Burnley that's in the Premier League over the weekend. That game should be coming, I think, on Saturday. On Saturday at 5 p.m. Saturday 5 p.m. at Old Trafford against Burnley. Chelsea will be opening the weekend against Fulham. Sunderland are going to be up against Brentford. Tottenham Hotspur will be up against Bournemouth. Wolverhampton Wanderers against Everton. Leeds United against Newcastle. Then on Super Sunday, Man City will be away to Brighton and Hove Albion. Nottingham Forest at home against West Ham. A game that I expect Nottingham Forest to win. Liverpool will be at home against Arsenal. The earlier two games coming at 4 p.m. While Liverpool versus Arsenal is going to come at 6:30 p.m. And then Aston Villa will be in action against Crystal Palace at 9 p.m. So that's ahead of the weekend. That's what we do expect. Anyways, guys, I mean, okay, let's speak a bit of transfers um because when it comes to transfers, then there's some big news. Chelsea's Christopher Nkunku is being pursued by AC Milan. Positive talks are ongoing to try and find a resolution for that one. Then Arsenal are now in direct talks with Bayer Leverkusen over Piero Hinkap deal after personal terms were agreed. Arsenal's preference is for a loan with obligation to buy, as a deal now depends on the structure to be approved or not by Leverkusen. And then they want to give Jakub Kivior the green light to travel to Portugal to undergo his medical and join FC Porto. Then AC Milan have also asked for deal conditions for Manela Kanji, no formal bid yet, but we're talking about a player who is of interest to Galatasaray, who is of interest to Bayer Leverkusen, who is of interest to Crystal Palace. It's one of the three names on shortlist for new centre back. Galatasaray did agree a £15 million deal with Manchester City, but have no agreement yet on player side, on personal terms. So that's what is pending on that side. But Crystal Palace have also inquired about Manela Akanji. Then Bayern Munich keep pushing to try and close a deal for Nicholas Jackson, but there's still nothing agreed yet between them and Chelsea. That one is also being pursued. Then that Daniel Ceballos to Real Betis was never a concrete option this summer. That's according to David Austin. That's according to Fabrizio Romano amid his strong interest from Olympique Marseille. Then Liverpool have informed AS Roma about Kostas Tsimikas is now available on straight loan. Roma are considering whether to proceed or get a deal done, as they wanted a buy option. So that is also happening. I mean, allow me to wrap it here, guys. It's been a pleasure doing this with you this beautiful Thursday morning. But yeah, for the transfers, I simply chose out the hot topics. We've left out much of the gossip and speculation. Okay, let's go through the transfer gossip and speculation as of this beautiful morning. Manchester United on the verge of agreeing a deal worth about £35 million and up to 35 to 40 million pounds, and the future sell-on clause perhaps for 21-year-old Alan Garnacho. That's according to the Telegraph. Then I've talked you about AC Milan is pursuit for Christopher Nkunku, and then Newcastle are expected to return with an improved offer of about £60 million for Jürgen Strand-Larsen from Wolves. After Wolves turned down their first two bids worth £50 and £55 million respectively for the 25-year-old Norwegian striker. Then the PSG goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma has not given up hope on a move, hope of a move before deadline day, with Manchester City have already agreed personal terms with the 26-year-old Italian goalkeeper. Then there are no talks ongoing between Saudi Arabia's Al Nassr and Manchester City for Ederson Moraes, but Galatasaray remain keen on the 32-year-old Brazilian goalkeeper. Manchester City have informed Tottenham Hotspur they have no intention of letting go of Brazilian winger Savinho for anything less than £60 million, while West Ham are looking to sign Brazilian goalkeeper João Victor, 29, from Botafogo. Let's not forget that they've already signed Mads Hamilton from Leicester City. Excuse me. Then Tottenham have agreed to send 18-year-old Croatian defender Luka Vuskovic to Hamburg on a season-long loan, while Sunderland hope to convince West Ham centre-back Naif Agat at 29 to join them. But Marseille, AC Milan, and AS Roma are all interested in the Moroccan international. Then Premier League newcomers Sunderland have also made an offer worth about £24 million for Bologna, a 27-year-old Colombian defender, Jean Lusumi. Uh, John Luchumi, yes. Then Genoa are considering a late move for fullback Maxwell Cornet from West Ham. Bournemouth are trying to push for a very cost attacking midfielder Hamad Traore from Olympique Marseille. Then Wolves are also. Basically, that's it, guys, for the transfer speculation and gossip as compiled by BBC Sport. But like I said, it's not looking pretty for neither Ruben Amorim nor Manchester United at the moment. That result is only going to pile more pressure on the manager as it was. But like I said, Arsenal are going to be away to Port Vale in the Carabao Cup. For at the third round, that's where they will play, and I think having seen that kind of result that Manchester United registered last night, then I think they will be really very intentional on avoiding any form of complacency whatsoever. I want to read you the fixtures or the draws for the Carabao Cup third round. We finally have them, although this seems okay. Oh, all right, yes. Port Vale will host Arsenal. Swansea City will be up against Nottingham Forest. Lincoln City will be up against Chelsea. Tottenham will take on Doncaster Rovers. Brentford will be up against Aston Villa. Huddersfield Town will entertain Manchester City. Liverpool will be up against Southampton. Liverpool are going to be at home. That's the video of it. Newcastle against Bradford City. Sheffield Wednesday against Grimsby Town. Wolverhampton Wanderers will be up against Everton. Crystal Palace will play Millwall. Burnley will be playing against Cardiff City. While Wrexham will be up against Reading. Wigan Athletic will be up against Wycombe Wanderers. While Barnsley will host Brighton and Hove Albion. Fulham will be up against Cambridge. So that's the fixtures. The expectation is that it should be played sometime next month. Otherwise, that's it for me from Footballtribeug. Thank you so much, Pedri, and every single one of you that do watch our broadcasts long after they've ended. Would not take your time for granted. Thank you so much for the love and support. Have yourselves a beautiful, wonderful Thursday, and I'll see you guys later today. Perhaps the UEFA Champions League goes. Stay blessed, and bye-bye for now.